All right, so welcome back for episode 7 of NB3 Sports Talk. We're back for the seventh time. I got a couple familiar faces, one new face here. I'm gonna go around and ask everybody first how's their Friday going, and go ahead and introduce yourself as well.
Who, who we starting with?
I'm just
Yeah.
Nate. Friday is Friday. It's a little end of the week, so a little tired, but it's making it.
I'm in. I mean, every day is the same day during this quarantine.
Definitely.
I'm Bree. I went to work today, so I worked all week, so I'm tired.
Okay.
All right. So, if anybody doesn't know, everybody on here know, but the viewers who watch, uh, Brianna is my sister. I'm my father on here, and my brother Ian. Ian also does sports talk as well as he just has a podcast as well. I'm gonna drop that information fact in the description below. So we're gonna kick off this week's episode. We got a couple topics here. So we got our new bonus trivia at the end of our show, but we're gonna kick it off with the most popular topic I believe in sports. It's been all week since last weekend. The Bubba Wallace incident and the noose that was found in his garage. And the FBI has, you know, concluded an investigation citing that it wasn't a hate crime, but then the photo released shortly after, a couple days after, showing that there was indeed a noose there. So I wanted to get you guys' thoughts on that. I know that we haven't touched on that topic previously in our last episode. So whoever wants to go first, actually, I'll start off, and then whoever wants to go after me, just give me your thoughts on the incident. Just real quick, my thoughts on the incident is that, when I first found out about it, we didn't quite know, there's a whole bunch of people saying that, oh, it may not be true because we haven't seen any evidence. And then um, it was confirmed that there was indeed a noose there. And then FBI investigation said that there was about 12, 13 ropes within the garage with tie down knots that you could pull for various reasons, but there was one confirmed noose. And then another thing that they tried to sidetrack everybody off of the topic was with the report that the noose or the rope had been there since October 2019. But my point is that it doesn't matter when it was there. They just try to throw that off, throw people off the real reason of what we're talking about. But um, let's just say hypothetically there wasn't a noose in his garage. There was still a Confederate, plane that flew over the NASCAR track, I believe shortly before it was set to go that day, which later got postponed during the weather. But it just, with it being a noose there, I just don't like that the FBI tried to pass it off as not being a hate crime because out of all the NASCAR drivers, we only have one African American NASCAR driver who drives professionally. So with that being in his locker a week or a couple weeks after he himself played a huge role in getting the Confederate flag banned at these NASCAR races and functions. So it's definitely a huge warning sign for us. Definitely the Bubba Wallace, he was definitely concerned. NASCAR said they was really concerned for him as well. We're just gonna see how this all plays out. But my thoughts on it is just that I just no place for that in sports and life, especially throughout the week in which we've had 10 African American, young African American men and women who have been hung from these trees in various states, Carolinas and Californias and everything. So it's definitely a sad incident, and I definitely hope they have a resolution, and definitely find out who's behind this as well.
Um, I think this. I was actually surprised when you said this would be the first time we talked about because I'm trying to keep it real clean because NASCAR is the I mean it's the most non-diverse sport there is, and for somebody to come out and before banning the Confederate flag was surprising already because you had the other dude just dropped out of NASCAR completely after they took their stance, but it's I don't mean to say it's funny, but it's funny how some people act. It's just funny to see some people's true colors. Like for them to hang a noose, if you're gonna do something like that, at least have it be more creative. That's all I gotta say. Like, man, that's some old stuff to do. Bubba Wallace, it's just ironic because it's NASCAR. Like, it's like white on white crime almost. But he's standing up for black people because by saying let's ban the Confederate flag. So it's real interesting in that sense. But it's weird that there's a whole investigation going on. I'm surprised they don't have cameras and stuff like that in there.
Right.
But I don't have too much to say about it. But I want to hear what everybody else has to say about it because it's NASCAR. Like I don't have. It's so weird, man. These are different times when you got people in NASCAR standing up for us.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. What you said is just the most non-diverse sport. And just to touch off what you said about the cameras, I'm pretty sure they got cameras that'll come out, in the upcoming weeks or a couple of days or so. So we'll find out who definitely does it. But go ahead, Big Nate.
I look at it a couple of ways. One, I don't really see that a lot of us didn't believe that it was a noose because it is NASCAR. A lot of us were shocked that NASCAR took the stance to ban the Confederate flag and to do it as quickly as which they did. However, if you look at that, the backlash that they were catching probably from their sponsors during the whole Black Lives Movement, on which we're in now, the social unrest, that their sponsors were taking a stand. So they looked at being cut off monetarily. So they took a stand. It was like, look, we got to get this flag up out of here because everybody has a problem with it. We got to stand and be diverse with it. Now, when the FBI came with the bogus investigation, they said the noose has been there, though it's just a regular knot. Since October 2019. Some of the commentators, the racist ones, jump back on Bubba Wallace. He's like Jesse Smollett, dude from Empire. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's crying wolf. But I was proud that NASCAR stood up for him. And the president of NASCAR released a photo and said, no, Bubba Wallace had nothing to do with this one. We saw the news before him. It was brought to his attention after we had taken some pictures and got him away from the bay. So, and they stood on their grounds and say, hey, this is what we have, and this is the picture of it, and we're supporting it. And there's always right to err on the side of caution than the not. And all of us have seen it now. It's clearly a noose. So you could say there was a couple of bays that had one. Ain't nobody had no noose like that. And if you got one bay with that noose in it, you got one black driver, that's who you gonna put in bay 13 with that noose, really? Doing all of this, you ain't scope out that bay to make sure nothing crazy was in there. Then that's the one bay you're gonna put the one black driver out there after he got he led the charge to get the Confederate flag banned from there. So, and then I'm pretty sure they got cameras. If they don't have cameras, it's a private area. We have all been down to Buzz Creek and watched the car races. You're not allowed in there without them knowing who is going in there, and especially a day before the race and the day of the race. So they know some people. They got it numbered down on who are they doing. The FBI was just trying to cover it up because, Donald Trump is in charge of the people of the FBI. They were trying to cover it up. And they hoped that nobody would stand up to them. They would just take the cover up and go on. But NASCAR president was like, no, you ain't putting this on me. Here's the picture. This is what I saw, and this is what I reported, and here's the picture right here. So we can see that this is clearly a noose. And they stood up for Bubba Wallace. So now everybody is backtracking on their story today and saying, well, it is what it is. No, it's not is what it is. It's racist. It is what it is because Bubba Wallace led the charge to get the Confederate flag banned. You had 3 NASCAR truck drivers at the truck series that say they walked away from it. We already know your stand. You walked away with it. I was proud that all of the rest of the drivers, whether a lot of them may not have been genuine, but we don't know. But old Richard Petty came out of retirement and led the charge, and he was through all of the racial error. But Richard Petty said, no, this is not my sport. He the old white guy you see out there that looked like he need a cane, skinny one, with the black cowboy hat. That's old time Richard Petty, the all-time great. And he was like, no, we're not standing for this. So if he takes a stand, everybody else had to take a stand.
Yeah, definitely agree. But just to pick up just to piggyback off what you said, just with it being the only black driver in that sport, even if it wasn't a black driver, I still consider this a problem. Even if it was a white driver, if it was another race, it has no place within the sport, within the building, at that. But that's all I had to say on that.
I feel like because the noose is such a powerful symbol in our history and with everything going on, I just feel like even if like it was therefore not, like everybody knows what a noose looks like, and there's no reason why that should just be up there. Like they should have figured out, even if it was up there since October, what was it there for? Like what are you using it for? So, but like you said, I feel like even if it was like a white driver in there, it's still like unnecessary. They should figure out a way to, if they are using it to hang stuff, like find a different way to knot the rope or whatever they're going with,
I just don't agree that it was a rope. When it came out before we saw the photos, and they said, well, it was just a regular rope that they used to close the garage, and it had been there since October. But when the picture came out, everybody knows, definitely our skin knows what a noose looks like, versus a rope. So for the FBI to come out and lie about it, I think that was pretty big. And I applaud, like you said, they made the NASCAR president for just stepping up and saying that no, this wasn't the case. It wasn't actual noose there. Bubba Wallace, we had alerted him. We had seen it before him. Got the message out to him and made sure he was safe and everything. I just don't think it has a place in the sport. Whether it's any race, it just doesn't have a place in any sport and in life in general. And especially with everything going on, this was direct, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do moving forward to handle this, because this was a direct threat, and I would be concerned for if I was Bubba Wallace too, because that's a powerful threat. That's a powerful statement. That's next to putting a burning cross in front of your yard. So that's scary. So anybody else got some thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I was on mute. We got 4 adults on here. Everybody has had a storage unit or seen a garage where something has been tied where you have pulled the door closed. There's no way in hell you tied the noose to pull the garage door down. Everybody, you just go up there and tie a knot, pull it down, and everything else. It's like you tie the end of your string on your sweatpants or your joggers so the string don't get looped back in there. You don't take your time to tie a noose knot in there. You just tie another knot. That's the same thing you do with a garage. You got a little piece of rope, probably like this long. You tie it on there, something that you can grab down, and then you close it and slap the lock on it. Yeah. And there's nobody taking that much time to put that type of rope on there and say that's what we're using to pull down the garage. No, I'm not going for that.
And it was perfectly tied.
Yes. and it wasn't a raggedy knot.
Right.
It did not look like it had been there since October, because had it been, it'd be worn and tatted and weather had got to it and everything. No, it was a perfectly tied noose.
And let's be honest, who knows how to tie a noose knot? I don't know how to tie a noose knot. I'm pretty sure, not a lot of black people know how to tie a noose knot. So that's
not a lot of people know how to tie a noose knot.
We don't
that's
have
what I'm saying.
No.
You can't even look it up on YouTube how to tie a noose knot. So you have to know that, pass down the line in your family. So, I hope, that they definitely have a solution, and find out who did it, and they get the appropriate discipline for that. But I do applaud the way NASCAR did step up, and also all the drivers. Like you said, it may not have been genuine, but they did show that support during the race, after the race, for their fellow peers. So hopefully everything gets better in that department. Like Ian said, this is a white man's sport, NASCAR. This is one of the most non-diverse sports. Even soccer and baseball and all that stuff is more diverse than this sport. I haven't really seen anybody really interested in NASCAR, unless you was, you know, a little kid with the NASCAR, little cars and everything. But outside of that, I don't know anybody who's a NASCAR fan now. But yeah, hopefully things get better in that department. And with that, anybody else got anything to say on it?
Just
we're not even going to talk
into it.
about the world soccer stars.
Yeah, I've been to a NASCAR event when I was young, and that's by far the worst type of event to go to. It was I was like, it was me, my uncle, and my cousin. We were the only black people there, but I'm darker than them. They can get away with being they can blend in with the crowd. But they were looking at me, and then it's just the noise. That noise is terrible. And you just watching cars drive around 500 laps. There's nothing interesting about that at all. That's one sport that they can have. They can keep. No argument.
No, they just go there for the drinking and the cheering, and it's a redneck party. They have it. They happy that's their sport. It's the redneck party. They having a good old time. You know what I mean? Because they got people. They got a big race down in South Carolina where Brianna go to school. I think every year, right about in September, and they come from states and book up every hotel. They there for days on end.
Mm-hmm. And that's crazy. They really go hard for it too. That's their sport. That's their little sport. But we're gonna pray for that sport. We're gonna pray for the fans of that sport as well.
Nah, but you know, I think that this is what Bubba Wallace led the charge to get the Confederate flag banned from there. NASCAR took a stand, and I believe, and you guys' generation and Brian behind you, you're gonna see a lot more African Americans break into the sport, because there's some that's on the ground levels that just don't have enough backing or sponsorship or support to get up to that, because it takes that. You got to win your races in your hometown. You got to qualify the state quals. You got to get some sponsorships to get on the big name tour. You got to take your lumps and bruises, because it costs money. Transport your cars and to enter in these races, and they have your pit crews and everything. And if you're not winning, you're not getting nothing out of it but from your sponsors. So it's going to take some couple African Americans that are going to get sponsored and break into the sport, and that's when you would totally see change.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you know, this is groundbreaking. This whole Black Lives Matter movement, not just with flag football sports as well. And it'll definitely be interesting to see not only NASCAR, but in every sport get a little bit more diverse, and everybody get those opportunities, like you said. But with that, we're going to transition into our next topic, which was a topic that Bree has suggested to me as well. I was going to speak about, you know, NBA players who did contract or did recently test positive for coronavirus. We also have WNBA players who have decided to hold out the season in concern with the coronavirus pandemic and everything going on. So my question is, what are your thoughts on the new diagnosis with these players, and then also with the WNBA players deciding some of the key WNBA players deciding to sit out this upcoming season?
Yeah. Well, there've been 16 tests out of the 16 have tested
16 out of 380.
Yeah, and that is right about what, 5%, 5-6%. I'm interested to see, once everybody is in the bubble, how they handle people that test positive there, because it's virtually like inevitable. It's like I was telling Brian, we're gonna have to learn to live with the virus until we get a vaccination or a cure, because it's almost inevitable that all of us are going to be touched in some way of it. Whether you got some symptoms, you can look back on people, like I look back at Mom when she was sick in January, and they were like, well, you got walking pneumonia, or you got bronchitis and everything. If you look back at it, she probably had the virus. Nobody knew. If you were sick between January and February and you had a long bout with the flu that you couldn't shake for a while, you probably had the virus and was misdiagnosed of it, or you self-diagnosed yourself with the flu and took all your cold medication and everything, and eventually you got better. So now you got antibodies in your body that's you're not gonna get it. But it's almost inevitable that you're going to get it. And so I look at some of the some of the factors of the NBA thing. I think they're going to move forward because it's low risk. They're looking at it as like, well, we got 5%. By the time we get down here and quarantine, these people will be free. There may be some more that are tested positive. We'll quarantine them and we'll keep moving. We got some key players in the NBA are opting out of the season just for that. Like Avery Bradley said, he's not going because he has a son that has a pre-existing condition. And he's like, once we open it up and we keep advancing, I can't bring my family because he's susceptible to it. So he's like, everybody can't go, I can't go. Trevor Ariza going through a custody battle. He's like, I can't go because this is the time that the courts allotted with me. I now can't go back to them and say, I'm fighting for custody for my son, but I can't do this month. That's not going to bode well. So there's people that's like, no, I can't go. So on the WNBA side, there's some people that have pre-existing conditions like JJ, who y'all went to school with, already has a pre-existing condition with asthma, has older parents. She's like, I can't risk everything to go back for these games. I'm glad her team understands. There's people like Saunders from the Wizards. Mystic, she has a pre-existing condition. She says she's not taking part of it. Mystics are standing beside her. Natasha Cloud, she doesn't have a pre-existing condition, but she's big in the community with Black Lives Matter, and is the only woman that signed the Converse, who they partially signed her because of her stance in the community. She led the march with the Wizards last week, her and Bradley Beal. So I understand her point of it. It's like, no, I got too much to do for my community for it. Same with Renee Montgomery down in Atlanta. I got too much for my community to go with it, to risk everything right now that we're at the height. So I admire their teams that have the support for them that's allowing them to it. Because, a couple of years ago, they'd be like, nah, we cutting you and we getting somebody else. And then you wouldn't even see them back next year. They'll find somebody else for that spot. So I admire that their teams are supporting them and they're going forward. I'm just interested to see what's going to happen once somebody tests positive in this bubble, in the WNBA bubble, in the IMG Academy, and in the Disney bubble, because we do know Florida is leading the nation right now with COVID-19 cases because they opened up before everybody else. So now they're trying to pull back their recklessness that they had for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen once they in the bubble and how many people, I'm knocking on the wood on the table, how many people that pray that they don't test positive so everything can keep moving. But I think the NBA is going to lay the benchmark for everything else moving forward. NFL football, college basketball, and everything. They've already pushed back college basketball, but they're going ahead with college football, the money makers of college. So, I'm interested to see what's going to happen when somebody tests positive in this bubble.
Yeah, this is first I want to go to the first thing you said was we have to adapt to this because it's not going away anytime soon. I keep telling everybody that because you can provide me more information on this, but viruses in general usually don't have a cure. Usually it's something they say you have to wait over time for it to leave your body. It's not like a certain disease that you can take pills for. Usually, from my understanding, viruses are, you stuck with it. There's no cure for them. Stomach virus, the common cold, the stuff that just has no cure for, you just have to wait for it to leave your system.
Yeah, same with the flu. You're absolutely right. The flu, we get the flu shot to shorten it. We don't get the flu shot to prevent it.
Right. So it's, like you said, we're going to have to adapt to it. And on the last time I was on your podcast, I was saying I don't think the season should start back. And I really don't now, but at the same time, because of what you just said, that we have to get used to this. Eventually, the next season is going to have to start, so we're going to have to figure something out. So this is a good test. It is a good trial run. The only problem with it is the trial run happens to be playoff time. So this is real hard. Second thing is, you talked about Avery Bradley, and this is real quick because the media especially Twitter, they just put out there Avery Bradley not joining the team. The people in the comments are going crazy, like, oh, he's not a real player. He's not a real Hoover. Like, they got to understand he has a son that if he goes down there, something could really happen. And the Lakers are the best team in the West. They're going to make it past the first round. They're going to keep going until, the inevitable matchup them and the Clippers. talk about the WNBA. It's not surprising to me that the key WNBA players are sitting out because usually women are smarter than men. You had Maya Morris is sat out for some league to fight a good fight of real important. So she took away from her career to go basically start a new career almost. And the key NBA players we haven't seen really speak up. I mean, we saw Kyrie, which is I can't stand Kyrie because he's the most. He's interesting because he's the one that's not playing. It's not like it's somebody that's playing.
Right.
And it's somebody that even if he was playing, his team is not in contention without KD. But he's the one that's not playing. So of course he's gonna say, yeah, let's just scratch this season. Right. But back to the players that got it. The biggest name is this Nugget center Jokic, who's already been known for losing a lot of weight, and now he has this coronavirus. And it's interesting because we haven't heard anything since probably I think it was the Nets. Like they said, like 8 of the Nets players had it. Like probably in like a month, we haven't heard about any NBA player catching it at all. As soon as they start testing, all these names start coming out. And it's not a lot. 16 names isn't a lot. But Brogdon and Jokic are real important to their teams, respectively. And it's going to be weird them joining the team back. I mean, of course, it's going to be out their system by then. But it's just weird because it's like, what were y'all doing to have caught this? Not trying to put blame on them, but for y'all to be getting tested positive right now after you're supposed to be in quarantine for about 2 months, it's kind of weird. And then the last thing is, I don't know if you know this, but the NBA schedule just got released about 20 minutes ago. They opening night is Jazz versus Pelicans and Clippers versus Lakers. Opening night. So that's
opening night. They gotta, when they're coming back, they gotta hit you with a good draw in. All 4 of us know this from being ball players. They gotta hit you with the Lakers and they gotta hit you with Zion Williamson.
I'm disappointed. I agree. I'm just disappointed they're throwing the Clippers and Lakers first together. It's like that intensity isn't going to be there first game back. They're going to be like maybe nervous to play. Like it's not going to be
and out of shape.
Right. So to see that game, and I'm not the biggest LeBron fan. I defend LeBron all the time, but people think he's my favorite player because I defend him. I defend players that get their name dragged through the mud, like Harden, LeBron, all them players. Because I come to their defense. But so let's say LeBron loses opening night. Media's not going to let that down. They're just going to go in. You had all these months to get in shape, blah, blah, blah. And I don't think the season should come back at all, but we do need a trial run for sure.
I feel like everybody's going to be out of shape when they come back because you can work out all you want to, but at the end of the day, in-game shape is different than like just working out. So like all of them pretty much been like working out and doing open gyms and stuff this whole time. But like in-game NBA, the pace of that game is unmatchable. So, but with everybody testing this corona, like you have to figure out we got to figure out a way to just deal with it. Like it depends on their like families and their like that's how they make their livelihoods, you know. So it's like they're sitting out and they got like they're getting money other ways, but that's how they like that's them working. So that's what they love. So they want to get back to it. And then so it all just depends on the person, really. With the WNBA players, I just found it interesting that so many of them were opting out because of like the racial injustices that's going on, and they want to have their voices heard. Like they're on a platform, and the only way that we could really demand change is for people who are on this platform to really speak up for us. Like the common man, nobody's going to really listen to the common man. Like if we just go out, like when we're protesting and they're rioting and stuff, nobody's really listening. But if it comes from like a LeBron or a Natasha Cloud, then that's when people are going to really start to listen and be like, okay, well, it's not just affecting like the common people, it's affecting everybody, and everybody now has a voice and opinion about it. So now we got to listen. Now we really got to change. So, and especially because WNBA players, they don't even get paid that much. So I think I got a lot of respect for them because they have decided to just miss out on a whole season. But I also have respect for the organizations that they play for understanding and standing by them and not bashing them and, really just saying, oh, well, they're not true ball players. They don't want to play. They're scared. But them just supporting their decision to really fight for a change in everything. So
Yes, and to touch off everything that everybody has said, I'm gonna touch on three things. The first thing is what you said, with Nate, just learning how to deal with the coronavirus.
Exactly
Learning
what
just
it
basic,
is.
like you said, Ian, it's a virus. Viruses don't really have cures. We don't even have a cure for the flu. We got what we hope would be a preventative or a strengthener to strengthen our body for the flu. But this coronavirus is going to be here for a couple of years to come. Just like HN, what's that? Swine flu. That's still around. So these viruses are going to be around for a long time. We just have to learn how to adapt to it. Take the right safety precautions and uh, everything to bring the sport back. But when you really think about it, you can wipe your hands, you can spray, disinfect everything. But when that ball tips off, those are grown men with bodily fluids against each other, sweat, breathing. Spend a lot of time exchanging those fluids in terms of sweat and spit droplets and everything that may come along with it. And then, like you guys said, the biggest concern is not only with their safety, because they can be asymptomatic and they can be okay, like a couple athletes were. But the main concern is family and friends that are within that high risk area. How to maintain that is going to be interesting. Also, what you said about the bubble, what we're going to do if somebody's diagnosed, positive for corona while we have the bubble going on. Are we going to distance the team? Are we going to distance the coaches? They're not allowed. What if 5 people on the team get tested positive and 4 of them are your starters, and this is the playoffs? So it's interesting, and how this going to move forward. The NBA is going to lay the groundwork for the NFL. The college football upcoming season, college basketball upcoming season, and I believe also the MLB season will be monitoring how the NBA moves forward with this as well, as they're set to continue next month. But second thing I want to touch on is just if this was, let's just say 7 years ago, was it 7 or 8 years ago, we had Donald Sterling, the Clippers owner, and that's when really, players started making a stand against racial injustice within the industry as well as in the world. But if this was about 7, 8, maybe let's just say 10 years ago, the support that the teams are providing to these players during their fight for social justice is tremendous compared to what it would have been 10 years ago. Because if this was 10 years ago, you would have had a lot of people would have been cut, would have been called into the office. They would have been talked down from doing this, jeopardizing their money and everything. So I really do applaud the way organizations, and I believe the world is growing now. We're taking baby steps, but they're opening up and being more acceptable to and more understanding to the social injustice that's going on within the sports industry and with the world as a whole. So third thing I want to talk about is the WNBA players. Like you said, Brianna, they don't make a lot of money to start with. So I really do applaud them for sitting out their season, jeopardizing their checks to really fight what's right for them. Maya Moore, she hasn't played in about 2 years because she's helping a man fight this case that she found was unjust. So it's bigger than basketball, it's bigger than sports in general, and I'm glad to see that not only from the NBA players but the WNBA players, because there is a wide gap in which they do get paid, and this is their livelihood. They're playing basketball. They've probably been playing basketball pickup games as soon as they could, and which is why which probably has led to the positive coronavirus test from these players. Because they've been out here on these marches, leading protests, and they've also been at pickup gyms. I think Trey Young had a couple pickup gyms with Bronson playing pickup basketball. They can't really stay away from the sport because that's their livelihood. They live and breathe basketball. So that's the reason why the tests have probably been positive, but I'm just interested to see how the NBA is going to lay the groundwork for these other sports, in particular the upcoming NFL season. in terms of fans and the routines and the pre-measures they take to keep it clean and at a safe distance between everybody.
I believe baseball, soccer, they have an easier path because they're not heavy on the contact. You have some contact in soccer, but you basically, the way you're set up game-wise, you basically physical distance anyway until the ball comes your way and you in the heated scrum or anything else. So you have minimum contact. Same with baseball. It's you, the bat, the ball. Same with that. And basketball and football, as much as you want to social and physical distance, like Browner goes to train, as much as you tell the girls, bring your own basketball, at some point, somebody is touching that basketball besides you. So that eliminates some of it right there. So that puts you at a little bit of risk there. You can wear your long sleeve shirt. You can wear your tights, everything. Try to cover up as much as possible. Somebody's going to touch the basketball at some point. You're exposed. We're hoping that nobody right there has it or whatever, but the virus can lay dormant in your body that you don't even got a symptom for a whole week, 7 to 10 days, so you don't even know if you passing it on. And people such as basketball being a high contact sport, it's inevitable that somebody in the bubble is going to test positive after everything begins, whether they came in contact with getting some towels down at the lobby, and somebody coming to work has it, because they're not quarantining all of the workers. They just giving them the swab and the temperature check every day. So it could be dormant in some of the workers' body. Once teams lose and they go home, other teams get to bring in their family members and everything else. You can't tell me the four of us on this screen, we're here for Brianna, she's playing ball. You gonna tell Ian, Nate, and Brandon we can't leave? That we stuck in this bubble too? We can't go outside and get dinner? You would tell me that? I'm not playing. You can tell Brianna that, but I'm gonna go somewhere. So then now I'm at risk when I come back. So we just got to learn to deal with it, and somebody got to be the guinea pig to get it out there. I hate that the soccer is taking the lead. They've been the guinea pig. They're stepping out there. NASCAR is a little bit less, intrusive because you're in the car. you in the car. The only contact you got is the pit crew, and all of them are masked and gloved up anyway. You in the car. So, a NASCAR and soccer and tennis, that's a one-on-one sport. You hitting the ball. You ain't touching the ball with your hand. You hitting it with your racket, your own personal racket. So there's different things. But in football and basketball, you sharing this basketball. And the way they got it set up, if somebody tests positive, they're going to move them away from the team. They're going to be quarantined in their room. The team will move to another side of the hotel with everybody else, and then they in there until they become free. But if once one person get it, if the four of us was on the same team right here, Brianna got it, we quarantined her. One of the three of us going to pop up with it next, even while she's still quarantined.
But not even that. Let's just say somebody marquee, and it's playoff time too. So let's just say LeBron James, Kawhi Leonard, James Harden get tested positive within this playoff stretch, and now they have to quarantine for 2 weeks. And you telling me that basically the whole series, and then some more, we're not going to have LeBron or Kawhi or James Harden. But not only that, now the whole team is at risk. Coaches and their family members who they've been around, who they've been allowed to play around and been around, are at risk as well. And it's just, like you said, we're going to have to live with it. But there's some things, when I really think about it, when you play in a sport, you touch your face a lot. In between timeouts, if it's, any sport, wipe and sweat. If it's in between the timeouts, you're waiting for the free throw, you're going to touch your face, any other part of your body in between. So that's the main thing. So when you get touching the basketball, that everybody on the court and on the bench has touched, and it's a timeout, and you just take a gentle swipe, just to wipe some sweat down, that's a possible way of transmission as well. So it's a couple things that are going to be difficult to learn. I don't know if you guys remember that video. I think it was a couple nights before the NBA got canceled. AD had licked his hand and then got, A.B. Bradley, and this is the night of, the first diagnosis that came out, so there's a lot of things that are going to have to change. A lot of players lick their fingers. With the football and basketball, it's a lot of things that we're going to have to change as humans. That's human nature, I believe.
It's our new normal. It's going to be our new normal. And we're just going to have to live with it. It's going to be our new normal. But I'm willing to bet, like some of the commentators have said, the teams that go deep in the playoffs, you think LeBron James is letting somebody leave that bubble?
Right.
You think James Harden and Russell Westbrook letting somebody leave that bubble while they advancing in the playoffs? I guarantee you. And I even got it so far as saying Russell, James, LeBron, big name players, Kawhi, all of them, Paul George, you not bringing your family up in here. They gonna stay at a different hotel, but we in this together for this month and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing
I believe that. But
when you was talking about how you can get it transmitted, the main thing you said was licking your fingers, because that's, man, as a hooper, especially I went to a school whose gym was terrible, so I just know about every 2 minutes we were licking our whole hand to wipe our shoe, like, because the gym was so bad, and like this literally every 2 minutes. So they do that in the NBA, in the gyms, and the floor's not even that bad. You'll lick your whole hand and wipe something, touch the ball, whatever. And you talked about football and basketball. Now, football is going to be a lot harder to do. One, because the number of players. It's already about 65 players on the team.
And you already close contact even when you line up on the field.
Right, close contact. And I'm not trying to put a stereotype on it, but it seems like NBA basketball players usually have a little bit more sense than football players. Try to put football players in the bubble, it's not going to work. They're going to leave the bubble just because you said we got to stay in the bubble. Mm-hmm. And the one thing two things I have questioned about is, because this is our new normal, sports are eventually going to get back to they're going to figure something out about sports. My thing is, how do we incorporate the fans into the sports? Because are we going to have to do like 2 people per row at the games? Well, in that case, it's going to be like only the rich people can go to the games, really, because the tickets are going to be so high up. Or are they going to start being like pay-per-view games for basically regular season games, something like that? And then it's the fan presence. Like, you need something. The one thing the main thing I like about this bubble is they said the NBA players get to attend each other's games. And as soon as I heard that, the first thing I pictured is the Clippers going to a Lakers game and Patrick Beverly just booing the whole time. That's the first thing I pictured. But
I picture him going to Russell's game and Russ yelling at him from the floor.
Russ going to Embiid's game.
Yeah.
I guess that's the main thing I want to know is how are they going to incorporate fans back? And the very last thing I got to say about it is, when I brought up the NBA schedule, I just saw Kendrick Perkins tweet this. It seems like the NBA really, really, really wants the Pels to get that 8th spot because they put them against the Jazz the first night, who were going to have some chemistry issues, clearly. Mm-hmm. They really didn't get it clicking until later on. They got Conley to start the season. I thought that was going to be a good pickup. Conley didn't fit in right with that team. Now the 2 stars are not going at it, but they did not see eye to eye during the quarantine. And it was publicly, Donovan Mitchell made it publicly known. Like, at first it was just reports. I'm thinking like, nah, maybe they're still cool. Donovan came out and was like, nah, I don't like what he did. Like, so the NBA definitely is going to get their revenue. They want to see Pels get that 8th spot.
Yeah. But I don't think they deserve it, even though it is basically fan base and what the NBA wants to see. But I just think I think we touched on it a couple of episodes ago about the Memphis Grizzlies earning that 8th seed spot versus any other team behind them. I think the closest team behind them is the Trailblazers, and they're like 5.5 games back. Mm-hmm. So
Memphis got the raw deal out of this whole restart. Memphis got the raw deal, but the marquee matchup is having John Morant and Zion Williamson move along in the playoffs. Pick number 1 and 2, keep moving into the young playoffs, even if they get knocked out in the second round or have a compelling series in the first round against each other or playing some teams. If you match up the Pelicans and LeBron, that's going to be watch TV. We already know the Pelicans ain't going to win this series, but we want to see what Zion does, what the old Lakers that LeBron basically traded away for AD. do in this 7-game series? Can they at least win 2 of the games? We want to see what Russ and James Harden do now that they back together and everybody's rested and everything else. Are they going to be like KD and Russ when they scored 91 of their 102 points or something? What's going to happen with this? So it makes for compelling matchups, and the NBA wants that. Touching on the fans, I think the NFL was looking at it yesterday, and that they have now sold the rights to the lower level, I think the first 5 rows, to sponsors. So they will have sponsorship emblems in the first rows, and the fans will sit. So in the 100 seats will probably be no fans or little to no fans, and then you can space them out in the 200 seats. But they're going to keep you far away from the field, from the officials, the players, and everything else. But those are sponsored fans, so they're going to find some way to make money off of this. So whether Sunday night will be a pay-per-view game, Monday night be a pay-per-view game, and you just catch a local game, 1 or 2 on Sunday during the day, they're going to make some money out of this.
Well, just to touch on that real quick, I did see that the CDC did issue out a statement saying that it was up to NFL teams and owners to decide their maximum capacity for attendance this upcoming season. So at first, I was thinking we was going to have to pay for games, pay a monthly package to see these games on Sunday, see the basketball games return. But, especially with the NFL season, I know that they're going to have fans. They may not be within the maximum capacity, but they will have fans there. The NFL is basically their own entity. They make their own decisions. The legal system can't even make a decision for them. They get the final say. So they're gonna have fans there. Like you said, they just want to space them out. As well as the NBA, they'll make sure everybody's spaced out with the players attending there and their families.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the Rockets play. You brought up James Harden. James Harden, we saw, lost some weight, and I can't stand the media's narrative on him. First off, on his defense, because if you put a clip together of anybody lacking on defense, it's going to look bad. But when you look at his individual defensive rating, it's never been terrible, never. Now, I'm not saying he's a good defender. I'm just saying it's nowhere as bad as the media says. He gets a lot of hate for the choking in the playoffs. I call it gassing out, because that man puts it all on the line offensively, and he gets no help in the playoffs.
And it's not gassing out. You're right. Mike D'Antoni, stop. Kobe Bryant even said this is not going to work when we get to the playoffs. We're going to be too tired.
And it's like 100% ISO. I was surprised they went up 3-2 on the Warriors, because Warriors are all about ball movement. Rockets are all about ISO. And but yeah, Harden's back in shape. Well, not back in shape. This is the skinniest we've ever seen Harden. Yeah. And the help he has. I'm not the biggest Russell Westbrook fan, but the help he has. Russell is somebody that does not give up. He's going to attack every single play. If he's missing from 3, he'll kill you at the rim. And although they don't have a big, that's helped him out a lot, because the center's now out the paint, and he just gets to blow by anybody. So they're going to be a very dangerous team. I think both of them have a bad narrative around them, so people aren't talking about them enough. The Rockets are dangerous.
Yeah, they are. They are. I agree. The Rockets are very dangerous, especially coming off of this layoff where everybody is rested, everybody is more in shape. It seems like their whole team has bought into Russ and James Harden leading. I'm interested to see what Eric Gordon looks like, but everybody has bought into this, that this is what we running, and we making our run right now. And with the Denver coming back with Jokic, even if he comes back and he's fully healthy, he's still going to take a while to get up in shape. And they were the ones right ahead of Houston. So it's still going to take them a little bit of time to get there. I think that was the 3-6 matchup if that happens. So it's still going to take them a little bit of time, and they don't have the advantage of being in Denver with the altitude. You all at even kill, so you ain't got nobody to get tired out or anything else. So it's going to make it very interesting, the playoffs, and being in this condensed schedule and everything, because even with the 8 games, I think it's 5 to 8 games in a couple of weeks, players are not going to really start to get in tip-top shape until September. They're going through this. We're going to have some good games in the early part of August. You may have one one game out of the week that's good where you done caught your breath, your legs are coming back and anything else. Brianna and Ian, y'all play ball in college. Y'all get tested. And that first week, your legs ain't there. You may have one game, but if you got a game that back-to-back or that one day later, man, you still sore. You ain't got no lift in that leg right there. So it's going to take a while for them to get back. So by September, the middle of September, when they into the second round, it's going to really start to get interesting and everything. So, it makes it interesting. It's who can last the longest right now. Who is healthy and who can last the longest.
Yeah.
Suppose your coach get positive. Well, what's going to happen? You better have a strong assistant coach.
You mentioned healthy. It's been this long layoff. This is basically half of all season for them earlier than anticipated. But one team I'm interested to see is the Clippers because they had a load restriction on both Kawhi and Paul George. With them having a month and a half, 2 months in between play, I'm interested to see how they're going to come back fully healthy, or they're going to put those same minute limitations on there. And how good they can actually be against the Lakers and the Rockets and everybody.
Right. What about the people? But like, how many of us can name teams that are in the playoffs in this bubble? There's 22 teams that have strong assistant coaches. That we actually know that have been head coach. The Lakers got Jason Kidd. He's been a head coach. The Clippers got Tyronn Lue. He's been a head coach. So I think the Pelicans have somebody, and Memphis have. There's not a lot of teams that have strong assistant coaches. If something happens to the head man, who you got calling these plays? And nobody's looking at that part.
Yeah, that's something to look into.
You said?
I just said that's something to look into because you got a lot of older coaches like Greg Popovich and Dan Tony. That will be down there in Orlando with them. And of course,
you can't teach a new system on the fly. If Ian went down, Brandon can't pick up and teaching him a new system before Ian comes back healthy. We can't all of a sudden come out the ISO game and play defense and move the ball around. That ain't gonna work.
Popovich just lost probably his best player in Aldridge, first or second best. But to your point about Jokic, the Nuggets center. And point about the Rockets, at first I was against the small ball, but now it's going to seem like the main people that are going to need the run are big men. They're going to need to get up and down the floor, and Rockets are going to burn that. That's why that small ball works. You have Embiid's one of my favorite players. Embiid's going to be slow up and down the court. Jokic was already slow. He lost weight. We're going to see how that is. But big men are going to need the most time to get back in shape, especially NBA shape.
Oh, yeah. But you say Jokic have lost weight, and because that's what he said. Have we seen him?
Yeah, we've
seen him.
Yeah, he's skinny.
Have we seen the one that we perceive is going to be a problem? Zion Williamson.
Nope, not at all.
Have we seen him? Have you seen him?
Other than that,
you don't know what he looking. He just come out there looking like me.
We saw him in that 2K commercial. That was it.
Yeah, that was about it. And that was probably filmed earlier. To be honest.
Yeah. We don't know. And that goes on the WNBA side as well. Yeah, they should have been almost in shape because their season was pulled right when their overseas season was coming to the end, and they were getting ready to report back probably in the next 4 weeks and everything to get vamped up. And even when they came back, they thought we were going to get a kickoff in May or anything. But, it takes 3 days to get out of shape. And like Ian and Brianna know, ain't nothing like game shape. You can't simulate game speed. You can run all you want, play all the pickup games all you want. It still ain't the same.
Yep. So this is definitely, I'm excited to have the NBA come back. Hopefully they're able to do it safely, and they're going to lay the ground rules for all the sports this upcoming fall as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how this moves forward. Hopefully they're able to do it safely, and it's just going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to return after having about 2.5 months off. But I want to dive into our bonus trivia. right at the end. I started doing this about 2 episodes ago, where I do this bonus trivia at the end, and the rules are simple. I give you 30 seconds to guess the bonus trivia. The goal is to get 3 points each. Whoever gets 3 points first wins. I believe we started off with guess the Super Bowl matchup. Last week we did guess the finals matchup. This week we're going to do something different, but along the same lines. We're going to do a game called Guess the NBA MVP. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say example, 1968 NBA MVP was. And I'm gonna
1968.
give you. Well, no, that's just an example. That's how it's gonna sound. And then I'll put a timer on for 30 seconds, and everybody will get those 30 seconds to make a choice or to make their guess. And first person to 3 points wins. So, everybody ready? Everybody got it?
It seems like my game to win. Let's get it.
You off of mute?
All right, cool. So, first one, within the last 2 decades for sure, 2003 NBA MVP was
AI.
Iverson.
Tim Duncan.
You said 2. You got 2 Allen Iverson. What was your answer, Bree?
Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan. That's everybody's final answer. All right. So 2003 NBA MVP was Tim Duncan.
That's the year the Spurs won. Yeah. I knew they won in '99. I was trying to think of one of his other championships.
Yep. So let's see. So Brianna got a point. First time playing the game, got the point. Y'all was just sure it was Allen Iverson 2003.
I was so sure.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take it to the 90s. You know who ran the 90s. So we're gonna throw one out here. The 1995 final, not finals, but MVP of the NBA was
Hakeem the Dream.
Karl Malone.
Oh, 95. Nah. Do I get to say it again?
Yeah. You got like 10 seconds, 15 seconds.
It was Karl Malone or Charles Barkley. I'm gonna go with Karl Malone.
95. It's either Karl Malone or Keem. I think Karl Malone though.
Karl Malone. We got 2 Karl Malones with you, Bree.
I don't know.
All right. So we have David Robinson from the San Antonio Spurs as the.
Yeah, that was the year. That was the first year that the Spurs won, and Tim Duncan. That was his second year in the pros, and that was the year Mike retired and David Robinson won. Yeah, that was the 50-game season.
All right, so nobody got that one. Y'all real confident. Y'all answers. I like it. Let's go back to the 2000s. Let's go 2006. NBA MVP was who?
14 years now. That was Allen Iverson.
2006?
2006.
Mm-hmm. That was 14 years ago. AI is now 41 or 43. That would have been when he was 29.
06 was the year Wade, I want to say Wade led the league in scoring, but he was robbed the MVP, and I can't think of who he was robbed by.
Was it Steve Nash?
Oh, is that Steve Nash's?
Dang, how much time we got left?
Time.
I'm gonna go with LeBron James.
Y'all gotta say your answer.
I'm going with LeBron James.
We got 1 Steve Nash, 1 LeBron.
I'm gonna go with Nash too. I'm just gonna piggyback.
All right, so the 2006 NBA MVP was Steve Nash. This is his second of a back-to-back where he robbed. I know a lot of people thought he robbed Kobe, the MVP.
Kobe was robbed 4 times for MVP.
Kobe was robbed that time. I remember this because this is right around prime area for us watching basketball growing up. Steve Nash still in that MVP back-to-back. So we got Brianna with 2 points, Ian with 1 point, Big Nate 0 on the board. Let's try to get everybody on the board here. So let's go now to 2000, the year 2000.
Jack.
We know that one. That was 20 years ago. That was Shaq.
Man, that's the most dominant player of all time.
Right. So let's go for another one. Let's go 2001.
Hey,
Right.
I got to tell you this real before I forget, and this for everybody on here, but I'm going to send you this after, but it's a podcast, and it's the first 10 minutes they talk about it. They said they were naming the best player in every season, not the MVP, but the best player. And they said Kobe was only the best player in the league for 1 year. And they have a good reasoning. Like, I'll send you this. They said it was basically went from Shaq to Kobe for a year and then straight to LeBron. And that's all I got to say. I always thought Kobe was a little overrated. So I'm gonna send you this pop. I know he's top 7 all time for sure.
I'm about to cut you off. You said Kobe was overrated.
A little bit, just a little bit.
Wow.
3 rings came with Shaq. That means something.
But he got 2 on his own and went to 3.
2 with bums.
Yes.
I wouldn't say bums. Gasol a Hall of Fame.
With Pau Gasol.
He made Pau Gasol a Hall of
Fame.
Famer. He treated Pau Gasol like Michael Jordan treated them Bulls to get him to grow up.
He definitely got them 2 rings on his own, but when people say them 5 rings, he was not the best player for them first 3.
No, I give you that. Shaq didn't have to work ethic to get 2 more with Kobe.
Not at all. I'll send you the link. You got here.
Right,
okay, what you say? What year we on?
We on 2001.
That was AI.
AI.
Yeah,
AI. All right, so everybody say AI. Let me throw another one out there. Something that y'all don't know. All right, let's go. 1993. 1993 NBA MVP was who?
Oh, that was King. That was Hakeem Olajuwon. That was the greatest season ever. It was either 93 or 94 for King.
No, that wasn't 93 because the Bulls still won in 93. But it wasn't Jordan that year. I want to say it was Charles Barkley. Brown already got 3 points. But it was Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley for you? You said Hakeem?
Yeah, I got King.
I'm going to go Charles Barkley.
Charles Barkley. All right. So the 1993 NBA MVP was indeed Sir Charles Barkley.
That's why Jordan put the target on his back and whooped him for that title. Because he was mad because he deserved MVP, and they gave it to Charles Barkley because he came from Philly and turned Phoenix around, and Phoenix had the best record, so Charles won the MVP.
Hakeem was 94, Ian. 94 was Hakeem.
And I think they just put
after Jordan.
They said that was probably the greatest season ever that's not talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, Kenny Smith played a huge role in that one. Kenny Smith knocked down some threes, and that was Sam Cassell coming off the bench and everything.
Hakeem averaged 27, 12, 3 assists, almost 4 blocks, 1.6 steals, won the championship, finals MVP, and regular season MVP, and defensive player of the year.
Yeah, and he schooled Shaq through the finals when they swept him 4-0.
And it's not talked about enough, I think, because it's in between that Jordan era. You know, it's right in between, you know, the first 3-peat and then the second 3-peat. So, you know, when you live in that decade or you play in that decade with Jordan, you're going to get overshadowed. But that, with those stats you just said, that's incredible. To win defensive MVP, you got MVP and finals MVP, and to win the championship that year.
That's the greatest team Jordan ever played against.
Yeah, it is.
I think the only one that has come close, and I don't think he won defensive MVP, but he won MVP and he won finals MVP. And I think he won the scoring title with Shaq. I think Shaq took 3 out of the big 4. I don't think he won defensive player when he got MVP, but he had 3 of them.
Since you was around back then, you think the Bulls, if they would have matched up, the Bulls bigs could have stopped Hakeem and Ralph? Because I know a lot of people that said that team.
Ralph, yeah, but Hakeem, no. I believe Dennis Rodman could have shut down Ralph Sampson just because Ralph was soft. Dennis would have got in his head. Horace Grant would have got in his head. They would have allowed Akeem to get all the points he wanted. They just could never matched up with Scotty and Mike because I couldn't see Kenny Smith couldn't guard neither one of them.
No.
So that would have been a problem. Akeem would have got 40 points and they would have lost by 5 every night. But yeah,
I know a lot of people
would have been like 12.
They said Jordan would have been 7-1. They could have lost them the first year, but there's no way Jordan would have lost back to back.
No. He would have found some motivation to get him past that one. If he had to go out and score 65 again, he would have done that. So and that's what made, and that's where, if we go back to the greatest players talk, who's the GOAT, and I think we leap over Kobe to get to LeBron just based on the fact that those two players, Mike and Kobe, we knew where the ball was going. When Kobe didn't have Shaq, we knew where the ball was going. We knew the ball was going to MJ. It was just a matter, could you stop it? Everybody in the world knew after this time who Phil Jackson the ball was coming to. Wasn't no Scottie Pippen being used as a decoy. We're going to give it to Tony Kukoc now. Everybody knew this ball was going to Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was going to create and get his shot, or he was going to hit one of the open threes for it. But that's where the ball was going, period. And with anybody else, I don't know if the ball would have went there. Now, with Akeem, we knew the ball was going to the drain. That was just a given. So that's how I look at it when you talk about MVPs, and I think Brandon know how I talk about MVP. The MVP is, if I take you off of this team, how is your team going to be without them? I could take Kobe or Shaq off of the Lakers and leave the other one there. Your team's still going to make the playoffs. Then, so it's hard pressed for me to give you this award. I can't take LeBron off of Cleveland when nobody else was there and they're going to get there. No, I couldn't take Russell Westbrook off of OKC after KD left and they was going to get there. No, I can't.
They barely got there.
I can't take neither one of them off of that squad and they get there.
Lost me with that last one. I voted. My vote was for Harden for MVP that year.
Which year?
Yeah, it was.
The Russell year?
The year that Russ got it.
Well, he went for a triple-double.
Man, stats are cool. Stats are cool and all, but Harden, they both had some terrible teams, and Harden showed that he can lead his team better.
I would say Harden got robbed last year versus that year. Versus Giannis, I think Harden got robbed because Harden was putting up 50-point games at least 30 times a year that year. So he put up 40, 50 points on the East, and he was winning. So I just think, Giannis, I do agree because, like you said, that's the way I look at it too. If you're going to take him off the team, would they be there? Now, if you took Giannis off the Bucks, they wouldn't have been the number 1 seed. But you took James Harden off the Rockets last year, they wouldn't have been, that top team as well.
They wouldn't have been in the playoffs.
No.
Yeah.
But you think,
not in the West.
Brianna, you think Harden got robbed?
Which year?
Last year.
Yeah, he should have won MVP last year.
He wasn't robbed. He got robbed the first year Steph got it.
Oh, now you don't want to get me started on that.
Steph had a good year that year. So.
Yeah, he had a good year that year. But okay, you're the first time unanimous MVP.
No. The year before that one.
Okay, but even before that, you're the MVP. Was that the year? No, that wasn't his unanimous MVP.
That was Harden. Yeah, the year I'm talking about was Harden's first year at point guard. He put up 30 and 10, led the league in assists.
Yeah, but I think they had the best record or something or close to it. The Warriors did. Yeah, so I knew, and he was a fan favorite. They were going to give it to him. But I look at his MVP year where they had the best record. He was the unanimous MVP. They were up 3-1 on Russ and KD. And they came back. They won that.
They were down 3-1 on Russ.
They were down 3-1. He did not have a great performance to win any of those games, but he played a good part in it. They were up 3-1 on the Cavs. One game you needed out of the unanimous MVP. One game, and I want you to look at his numbers in 5, 6, and 7. What he scored and who he guarded in those games. You had one game to win. The unanimous MVP, as they say, who I don't believe, the all-time great three-point shooter, and you couldn't get one game?
I'm glad you said you don't agree because
I do not agree with that. He ain't even the best shooter on his team.
He's not. I think Clay's the greatest. I think Clay's the best shooter.
Any day.
Clay the best shooter of all time to me.
He is Pistol Pete Maravich, who hits all the trick shots and can't win the big game. If I had to call a play, and you and Brianna play ball, if you had to call a play to shoot a three to win the game, who you giving the ball to, Steph or Clay?
Clay. But I brought up this argument when I brought up I argue when Steph versus Harden was trending for a minute, like a month ago. My main point was, look how much Clay's helped out his career because not only we all know how great of a shooter Clay is, the 60 points in like 20 minutes and 3 dribbles, blah, 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 but he hides Steph on defense. Like you have somebody to go out there and check whoever the best guard is back there. So that's why Harden's different. Harden, regardless of Russ I think people overrate Russ's defense because he's so athletic. People assume he's a great defender. He's not. He's really not. He's probably average.
He's aggressive. He's aggressive.
Yeah, he's aggressive for sure. But Clay's a guy that fits on any team. If you put him anywhere, he's gonna fit 3 and D. Clay is special. Clay is really special.
I've been a big fan of Klay Thompson. He doesn't require a lot of fanfare or whatever. I'm going out here doing my job. He's okay with you ain't got to recognize him as the big man on the squad. I'm okay with all of that. I know what the stat sheet gonna look at the end of the day. I know where you're gonna have to come to or anything else. I'm good with all of that. Let's just get this win and everything else, and let's move forward. I'm looking forward to how they're gonna look next year. Next year is gonna be the coaching job for Steve Kerr. Is he gonna be able to turn them around? I don't believe, because I think a lot of Mark Jackson's principles were still in them, that they just needed a different voice to get over the top. But I don't believe that they're gonna turn around. But it's gonna depend on what they get for the number 1 pick, whatever. Because that is still a dangerous lineup where you got Steph, Clay, and now Andrew Wiggins. That's still a dangerous lineup. And then you got Draymond back in his utility role again. That's still a dangerous lineup right there with just those 4. No.
So my question is to my last question to kind of top it off here is, as we talk about Steph's MVP season, do you believe that he should have won an MVP either season?
His unanimous MVP, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that was a 73-9.
Yeah, and unanimous MVP.
Yeah, that was 73-9.
Yeah, and he was up there in the scoring and everything else. Yeah. I don't know about the year before.
Right. I think it's hard. It goes by.
What you say?
I say the year before more than the second year, because when you think about that year was the breakout year for the Warriors. They went and kind of upset LeBron, even though he had injuries due to his teammates. But I think he won the MVP that year more so than he did his second year. That's just my thought, because he came out, and that's really the first time you've seen Steph Curry, with these long threes and actually winning. I think he won number 1 seed that year, and then also went to the finals and won as well. But versus, I forget who it was that year he got unanimous, but I did believe that somebody else did deserve it before him. And then, like you guys said, the inability to close in the big game, not just regular season, but in that same playoffs where you overcame a 1-3 deficit, you lost 3-1 lead. So it's a lot of things on a 73 win team at that. So
it goes by what MVP. It goes by what MVP is defined by, because the media is contradictive. Because they'll tell you that it's about the story. Then they'll tell you it's about who's the most valuable, like y'all said, if you take them away. And then they'll say it's about who's the best player.
Yeah.
And then they'll also bring up playoffs when playoffs aren't a part of it. Like you say Steph and the finals that year. If you look at the finals, his first year winning it, he wasn't all that, and he didn't even get finals MVP. It was Iguodala.
He has never got finals MVP.
Never.
His 3 rings.
Never. So it depends on what they go by. That's why I hate that first off, LeBron doesn't have more MVPs because not only if you take him away from the Cavs, they're terrible, but he ran the conference. The conference was on lock, and I understand the East is the East, but when LeBron's away last year, we thought anybody in the East can make the finals, literally, because LeBron was gone. That's how valuable he is, and that's why I hate that Harden doesn't have, or that's been robbed, because they talk about the story and the media, and most of the season was Giannis is getting MVP, Giannis is getting MVP. But y'all usually don't give it to people 2 years in a row, and Giannis doesn't have a story. He got it last year. What's the story this year? He's doing the same things he did last year. So I don't understand their.
Until he adds a jump shot, he's not gonna get my MVP vote.
He's our version of Shaq.
Yeah, because all the Toronto Raptors did was clog the paint and stopped up the lanes for him driving and dunking. And he couldn't consistently hit that shot. Until Michael Jordan got a jump shot, they did that to Mike. Until LeBron got a jump shot, they did that to him. If you can't consistently hit it, we're going to clog up this middle and dare you to beat us from out there. So he's not going to get my vote because I foresee it still coming this year. You know?
Yeah. Well, you think he's going to get MVP this year?
No.
I think but I don't think he deserves it.
I think LeBron's gonna get it just because LeBron. They've been rolling. If we hadn't had a break in basketball, we would have been saying the Lakers are the champions right now. I believe at this point, you know.
We had a break. Did we be in the finals or over the finals? We'd had the Lakers winning.
Yeah, the draft was supposed to be yesterday.
See?
Yeah. See? So we would have been saying the Lakers are champions. So I just think, you know, with everything, LeBron came back from injury. Got a whole new team, and then was still number one in the West before the break. I think he definitely gonna get MVP. But that's all I had to say on that. That was my only question to y'all about Steph MVP. But I appreciate you guys for taking about an hour or so out on your Friday night, spending time helping me out with this podcast and speaking on these topics. Like I said, Ian, you got your own. You got your own podcast as well, Stats vs. Facts. That will be in the description below. Also, Instagram and Twitter, as usual, will be in the description below as well. I just want to say thank you again. That's it. Anything you guys got to say before we go?
Appreciate you for having me on.
Yep, we appreciate it. Just looking forward to seeing some live sports. We're over here watching the Cornhole Championships and stuff. Like, what is this? Like, I was watching, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I was watching the Women's Football League during lunch. I was like, oh, they playing, and I looked up, the game was 4 years old.
Yeah, they stopped that league, I think. But yeah, I'm ready to get back to real sports. I had to get this episode in this week, and I'm not going to be able to record next week's episode unless I do it beforehand. But yeah, I'll keep you guys posted, keep everybody posted when another video will be coming out. Also, see who'll be able to join on the next episode as well. So, send my appreciation again for joining. Have a safe weekend, everybody.
All right.
All right.
All right. Y'all take it easy.
All right, you too.